So hi guys, welcome back to Osego Codes once again, and I'm happy to see you coming back again to see my content. So today I'm doing something different because we've built already our API and our API is ready. And like I mentioned, our API we will want to build for it a front end so that we can see how you can consume API to a front end application. But I'd say that we will first deploy our Express API to Azure. The video is coming. But before the video comes, I want to introduce you to Vue.js so that you can actually understand how we can actually build front-end components or applications using frameworks so that at the end of the day, we'll be able to connect our front-end to the back-end, and then we say like we have a complete full-stack application. So join me guys in this video and let me show you how it's done.
With me here, I just have my empty VS Code which is ready to task, and then on my browser here, I have several tabs open. I have Vue.js, I have Tailwind, and then I have what we call JSON placeholder, and then we have a quick start to Vue.js. So before we do any code, I would want us to basically get to understand what Vue is. So if you have ever been in the developer ecosystem, let's say specifically the web development path, you've heard of the term web frameworks, or to be specific, JavaScript web frameworks. So whenever you hear the term JavaScript web frameworks, I know without doubt that the first thing that pops in your mind is React. So React, and another one is what we call AngularJS, and another one is what we call Vue.js. Those are the most popular JavaScript frameworks that we have as we speak, the top three. So the most undisputed one that is popular is React.js. Then we have Vue and Angular. I don't know which comes second, whether it's Vue or Angular, but what I know, they are also popular. So Vue.js, as you can see from their official website, is a progressive JavaScript framework which is approachable, performant, and versatile framework for building web user interfaces. So Vue is just like one of the frameworks that JavaScript offers for us to be able to quickly build stunning websites, basically the front end section of the websites. So with the Vue, some of the prerequisites that you should have, as you can see just from the definition of what Vue is you should have a basic understanding of JavaScript. And because it's web, you know very well that an understanding of HTML and CSS can come in handy during your development. Now, what I will expect you to already know is just the basics of JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. And for CSS, for this session, we'll try and use Tailwind CSS, which is like a CSS framework or processor. It will allow us to, it is a utility framework that allows us to use utility classes on our elements to style our websites. So in our agenda, as I mentioned, that first thing that we're going to do, we are going to initialize a Vue project, either using Vite or the CLI or the GitHub. But I want us to use the Vite and the CLI. Now, initially, if you used CLI, it was actually being installed using Webpack. But recently, Vue migrated into using Vite. So if you create it using Vite or CLI, trust me, they are both using Vite as the bundler for that project. So as I mentioned earlier, and as the saying goes, one of the friends that as a developer that you should have, you are going to place is the documentation of a framework. So what you're going to do, I'll just simply go back into my VS Code here, and launch a new project. So come to the file here, then select on open folder. Once you click on that, open folder, navigate to any location on your machine. I'll go to the documents, then create a new folder, and let's call it getting started with Vue. So we're creating a new folder on my documents, and you should give it any name of your liking. You can call it Vue, you can call it JavaScript framework, or anything, or project. So I'll call this Vue session. Then select the folder. Once you select the folder, you now open the folder so that it can be visible on our VS Code. So we now have a folder from which you want to work from. So let my VS Code load it, then we can get going. As it loads, when we come back to our Vue.js website here where we have the documentation, we have a way in which we are going to start Vue.js projects. Like I mentioned, I want us to use the CLI, which will bundle our project using Vite. So if you have npm, you should have npm or pnpm or yarn or band installed. In this case, I want us to use yarn because it's faster compared to npm. Now, what you will do, we have the command here to initialize our project. So just come to this website, then click on this clipboard icon to copy the code. Click on that. Then coming back to your VS Code. Man is having a little problem. Let's give it time a bit. So once you copy that command, you just navigate back to your folder that you created, and then from there on you will paste that command there and then run it. It will initialize your Vue project. Great. So I can see it's already initialized. So what you can do from here, open your terminal just directly from VS Code. How to do that? Come to File. You'll come to File here. Wait a minute. It's kind of thinking. Yeah, open your terminal by pressing the Control and the tilde key. The tilde key is the key that just below the escape key on your keyboard. Click on that, then you can see it has opened our terminal here. So once your terminal is open and ready, you will paste that command that we copied here. This is the command that we copied, yarn create Vue at latest. This one will use the yarn package manager to create a Vue project, and it will in fact create the latest version of the Vue project. That is why we have this at latest. Now this one simply tells the yarn manager to install the latest version of Vue. So like I said, you copy it. Once you copy it, you navigate back to your VS Code, and then on your terminal, you can paste that code there. So just be patient with me a little bit. My machine is thinking a lot. Once you paste it there, so give it time kidogo sana. So once we are waiting for it to actually be okay, once you paste that code here, it will prompt you to give it a number of responses, like the project name, the repository name, the author name, and the other third-party libraries that you want to install, which include Vue Router for routing, Pioneer or Vuex for set management, ESLint and Pretia for code formatting, and other third-party libraries that are useful when developing a Vue project. So let's see on that. Just hang on, guys. Yeah, thank you. It has loaded. So, like I said, I'm in my terminal. So I'll come here and paste that command that I created. You see, yarn create Vue at latest. Press enter. So once you press enter, it will go fetch all the files that are needed for your Vue project, and then it will download them. So let's wait and see. It will prompt you for your project name, prompt you for the repository name, author name, version, license, and the third-party libraries such as the one for routing from one page to another page, state management for having your data being managed as a central store, also other development tools such as Praetia and ESLint for formatting your code. So that is what we expect here. So let's hang on and let's wait on that. So it's gonna fetch it. So once it fetches that, when you come back to our file explorer here, you will have an array of files and folders here. So we'll then go one by one, examining and explaining what each folder or each file does in this project. So let's wait on that. Exactly. So we have it here. It's resolving what is needed. Let's see. No license field. So let's see if that is a problem. Let's use npm create view at latest. Npm create view at latest. So let's see what npm will do. Let's see what npm will do. So npm is simply a node package manager. It will help you work with libraries, third-party libraries that will be useful in any project that you'll be building. So it's for JavaScript package management. So we have npm, we have yarn, we also have pnpm. So we've tried yarn seemed to be having problems. So let's try using npm to create our project. Great. Now you can see npm is going to work for us. So you need to install the following packages, create Vue. So yes, give it a yes, press enter. It's installing. It's installing. It's done. Now you can see the next prompt, project name. Let's give a name for our project. Let's call it Vue Basics. Do you want to add TypeScript? No, I want to use JavaScript. Just press enter. Do you want to add JSX support? No, I'm using the native Java HTML. Do you want to add Vue router for single application development? As I mentioned earlier, the Vue router is for navigating from one page to another in this project when building with Vue. So yes, I'll add that. Do you want to add a PNF state management? For now, no, because that is an advanced topic. Do you want to add VTest for unit testing? Also no. Do you want to add an end-to-end testing? No. ESLint for code quality? No. Now, from there on, it has done scaffolding our project. Now, done. And we now need to run cd Vue Basics. Now, what that does is that it will change the directory into our now project folder. If you now check here, we have a folder that has been created. This is our project folder. And if you try to open this, you can see it already has some folders in it and files. So what you can do, just come here, cd into Vue Basics, then press enter. So we are into the directory where our project is. The next thing is install, npm install. Now if you can see, we have a file here named package.json, and when you click on that, we have dependencies that we need to install. We need to install Vue and Vue router. Also, the dependency that we need to install as the Vite and plugin Vue dependency. So what you'll do, come here and type npm install to install those packages. Once it's installed, you'll see we have a new folder here named node modules. This folder will contain all the libraries or the modules that we've downloaded for our project. So once you install, you type npm install here, press enter. So it will go fetch all the modules that will be needed for our project, and it will install them in a folder here named node modules. So that will take some time, so we have to be patient. npm installs, you can be a bit patient, and I can start explaining the folder structure that we have here. So as you can see here, we have a folder structure here. Remember, we named our project Vue Basics, and inside here we have, let's start from the SRC folder. SRC folder is where all the files that will write about your project will live inside the SRC folder. Now we have the assets. Assets folder has some other files inside here, which is the styling sheets. It can contain your image files, audio files, any other static file that will be used in your project should live under this assets folder. Then we have components. Now, under components, this is where we will have component files for building each component of your website. A good example to explain this, when you have a website, usually you have the navigation bar, you have the hero section, you have buttons, you have buttons, you have cards. So for example, nav bar should be a component because it will be used in different pages of your website. So anything that will be reused in different pages of your website should live under the components folder. Coming down, we have the router folder, and then inside we have the index.js file. Now the router, from the name, this one will help us in routing from one page to another. So all your routes for your application will be defined inside the router folder in the index.js file. Then we have views. All the page views of your site, for example, we have the home page, contact page, about us page. All those files should live under the views folder. Then we have what we call the app.view file. It's not a folder. Now the app.view file here is the main component of your application. All other components, all the views, all will be imported into the app.view file here. And then coming down, we have main.js file. Now this is the entry file for our Vue project. This is what will mount our app into the HTML DOM, which is here. You see we have an index.html file here. Everything that we write in Vue will be transpiled into HTML using Vite. And that is why if you check in the main.js file here, we have where we initialized our Vue app, where we have first of all import create app from Vue, then we import app from app. Remember, app is the main component of our project, as I mentioned here, app. So we have to import the main component into the entry file, which is the main.js file. Then on the line number 5, we have the router being imported. And then now we want to initialize our Vue app by saying const app equals to create app. Then we pass the app, which has been imported, the app component. Then here we are simply telling our Vue application to use the router. It means now our router is now globally accessible to all parts of this project. And lastly, on the last line, number 11, app.mount app. This one now simply tells the Vue project that once we have initialized our app and named it app, I want you to now take that app and mount it to a DOM element with this identification of ID app. We want to now mount the app, which has been transpiled into HTML, into our main index.html file in a DOM element which has an ID of app. If you come to index.html here, you will see we have a div of ID app. Now everything that we build, no matter how big the size will be, all will be transpiled into HTML and then mounted into this div here for rendering. So that is it for the project structure. Now this git ignore simply for ignoring files when pushed into GitHub. Index file, as I have mentioned, index file is where all our app components are mounted into. Then this is the configuration of the project. Package simply has the array of dependencies that we'll use in our project. The JSON file is where we actually come in. The JSON is where we tell our project all the dependencies that we want to use while building our project. So coming back to the terminal here, we had actually installed the packages. You can see everything is installed, and now we have the folder here called node modules that is reside. So once that is installed, the next thing we want to do is want to start our development server. Remember, we had this command up here telling us after installing, then run this command npm run dev. Now this one will build our project live so that we can preview it in development. So just come back to the same terminal where we were and type npm run development server. Press enter. Then give it time to build. Then it will present us with the URL. Then we can control and click on that URL to preview it on the browser. So you can see we have now the URL here. Now press Control and click on this URL to preview it on our web browser. So it's loading. Amazing. So when you install your Vue project for the first time, this is the page that will greet you. Once you see this, you are sure that your project has been successfully installed and you can actually start building your Vue project. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to delete this boilerplate here so that we can start building our app from scratch. Now up to this moment, we have initialized our Vue project and it's running here. Now we have two pages so far, the about page and the home page. So I want us to delete everything so that we can have an empty project so that we can start building from scratch. So I'll just come to the app.vue here. I will delete the hello world, the import. Coming inside the template here, I will delete everything in the header. I will delete everything router view. Also delete imports. I will delete all the stylings that we have. Let me delete all the stylings that we have so we can have an empty project to build from scratch. If that is gone, also I don't want the components that were given by default. So coming to views, delete that view. Delete the home view too. Okay, coming to components, I don't want any component right now, so I'll delete all the components that we have here. Just highlight everything and press delete. Amazing. The assets, you can leave the base CSS. You can actually delete everything from here, the CSS. Main CSS, also we can delete everything from main CSS. The logo, we can leave that. So let's go back to our project and see what we have. Now you can see we now have an empty whiteboard. There's nothing. It means I have done away with everything that comes as a boilerplate from our project. So the next thing I want us to do, like I mentioned earlier, everything in our project will live under the app.vue, irrespective of whether you define it in the views folder as a component. It must be imported into the app folder. So to start this, let's first examine the Vue structure. Now, Vue file structure, that it uses something we call single file components. Single file components. What is single file component is a component which has all the methods, all the data, and the structure and the styling of that particular view or component in the same file. For example, if you look here, we have the script section, we have the template section, and then we have the styling section. So anything that should be displayed on the screen of the browser should be in between the template tags. So I will come in between the template tags and just type a div element there. And the template section should have a single parent element inside. Then everything else should live under that element. Now in our section, I have used the div to store everything. Now to make it simple, I'll just type a h1 and let's say this is Vue session. And when we go back to our browser and check, oh wait a minute, something is breaking. This is our Vue. Let's go back to our routing. Let's do away with everything here. all the home view we don't have. I'll delete everything we have here. Everything else that we have here, delete. So we don't have that one there. Fine. So great. Now you see I've deleted whatever was messing us. Now you can see in our app view file, I simply typed this is a view session. When you come back to our page now, we now have simply that. This is a view session. Great. It means that we're making progress with our project. Now, once you see that, this simply means that so far so good. Our project is well set up and it's running. Now, in Vue, Vue is a single page application framework, which means everything we're building here should be built as a single page. But for us to navigate from one page to another, we will be using what we call Vue router here. Now, before that, remember I had something called components here. Now, components, JavaScript frameworks employ something what we call component approach to building websites. For example, it means we use different components. We can have component 1, component 2, component 3, which all come together to form what we call our website. For example, to build a website, what will we need? The navbar component, the footer component, the main component, the body component, the hero component. Okay. Now, to explain what a component is, we'll start by creating a component. Coming here in the component folder, just click and create a new file. Then call it, for example, we can call it navbar. View. The reason why I'm creating navbar as a component is because our home view should have the navbar, our about view should have the navbar, contact view should have the navbar. Navbar is same, it doesn't change. It means we can reuse this navbar component across several pages. Now, like I mentioned earlier, Vue is a single file component approach. So it means we'll have something. Let me do it real quick here. We'll have the styling section, script section, and the template section. So inside here is where we have our template section. So in our template section, I want us to create a simple navbar. That way, we have home, we have nav. Inside the nav, we have the UL, then the list item, and the links. So once we have that, now this is a component. If you come back, remember this one has been built in the component folder, you see? Now, when we come back to our browser, you can see it doesn't appear anywhere. Why? Because we haven't imported it into the app.vue file, which should be the base component of our application. So what do I do then? I will come here to the app.vue file and import the navbar component. So where do I do that? I'll do that inside the script section. What you do, just type import, then call it navbar, import navbar from, because we are in the same directory. Now we just go components, then navbar.vue. Once you import navbar.vue, now we will introduce what we call custom elements in Vue. Now, usually we are used to things like maybe H1, H2, paragraph, emphasis, but now we want to introduce something else. Now, what we call custom components. So I will just type navbar, but it's a self-closing element. So the navbar that I imported here is now an element in the app file. So I'll have navbar, opening tag, and then self-closing. So what should we expect? We should expect that when we now navigate back to our browser, we should have the navbar that we have defined in the components here being displayed in the app.vue, which is the main component, followed by this is the view session. So let's go back. So what do we see? Come here. We now have the home, about, and contact, which is our navbar. It's now a component. Then our previous element, which is H1, which states this is a view session. Now, to make everything here appealing and interesting, I want us to install Tailwind inside our Vue project so that we can style it so that everything can be visually appealing for a better understanding. So I'll simply come back, or we can actually use inline styles. Let's just look at inline styles here to make things really quick. So let's just style the nav. Let's give the background a color of that. Then let's style the UL, nav and the UL. What else do we need to style? We need to style the LI tags. I'm using the Copilot to help us move faster. What else do we need to style? The A, and I think that will be it. So let's check. Let's check on that. Let's reload. Let's reload and see. Exactly, it has reloaded. Now you can see we have on top here, we have home, about, and contact. Then down here, we have what is called the view station. So after that, let's create another component, and this component, let's call it our footer. Everything will add up. Just hang on. Let's add another component called footer.view. We're setting the basic components of our website. So the footer. So let's have our usual file structure of the base setup, the template section, the script section, and the styling section. So in the footer, we can have something very simple. Let's just name it 2024 Vue Basics. Then let's tell that. Let's give our footer a background color of dark. So coming here, we want to style our footer. Background color, I want it to be something even black or gray. Gray can, no, black can do. Text, color, I'll give it a color of white. So then remember how it flows. Define a component, then import it into the main component file. So coming into the app, we follow the same procedure. What do we call it? Import footer components footer.view. Then our footer is always the last thing that you want to see on your page. So coming down here, just now we have a custom component called footer. It's self-closing. So when we come back to our file, our browser, and refresh, you now see we have our footer here. We have our heading, our nav bar, which is the navigation bar that will help us navigate from one page to another. Actually, let me restyle the nav bar so that everything can be visible. Let me restyle the nav bar. I want this background to be black so that it can stand out, and the color should be white. Let's refresh and see. Also coming down to the links color should be white. FFF. Let's check where we need the color again. Exactly. So you can see we have the footer up here, home, about, contact. The navigation header. So as we move on, you see we have home, about, and contact. But then we want to have these pages differently. Now remember, we need to have the home view, about view, and contact view. So what do I need to do? I will come here in the views folder now. You see where we had the views here. Now let me create something and let's call it home view. Home view.view. The extension for view is always .view, different from React where we have .jsx or .js. So .view. As usual, the folder structure, the file structure is always the single file component. Now let's have a heading here, h1. This is the home page. Let's have a div here, and let's say some content, then another p tag here, and let's lorem to give us some dummy text like that. So that is for our home page. Let's create an about page. About view dot view. How you name your views is up to you, but you must end with dot view. So doing the same thing, we come the setup, and then h1. Let's do h1 to tell it what the page is all about. Now this is an about page. Just some dummy text in the p tag. Here's some context about the page, then the lorem for some dummy text that way. Then the last page that we need here from our navigation header is the contact page. So again, in the view, just get another file and let's call it contact view.view. Following the same process that we'll be doing, just the single file component, then a h1. This is a contact page. Then some content goes here. Then just the dummy text to save on time. Some lorem. Exactly. Now you can see we now have 3 views: about view, contact view, and home view. What do we expect, or what do we want to achieve? What we want to achieve is that whenever we click on about, it should take us to the about page. When we click on contact, it should take us to the contact page. But on the initial render of the page, we should always be on the home page. So how do we achieve that in Vue? This is where this folder now comes into play. This folder that we call router. Inside here, you can see we have what we call index.js in our router folder. Router folder is from the name router. It's used to route from one page to another. So what do I need to do? I need to import the view here and then give it a path, a name, and the component. So the route folder, what you do once you have installed Vue router, you import create router and create web history. Create router is just now the main component of that will allow us to route from one page to another. The create web history will allow you to navigate back to the previous page where you were, or navigate forward to the page that you've just left. Then you initialize the router, const router is equal to create router. Then now you define the history mode. We want to use the create web history, which knows our previous page in memory, and it knows the page that you've just left in memory. Then after that, just initialize the roots, which is an array of objects. Now the object will define the path that we want. The first path always is the home path. Then the name of the path, we'll call it home. Then the component. Component is where now we want to import the view that should be displayed whenever we route to this home route. Okay? In this case, we want to load the home view every time a user routes to the home page. So up here, come and import. What do we import? Home view. We'll import home view. Call it home view. From where? From views. Then inside the views, what do we want? The home view. So once you do that, let's see what we are import home view. What are you expecting here? Okay, no problem. So come here and give the component home view is what we want as the component. So every time that we route to the slash or the root URL, we should load the home view. Then that is it. Come again and create another object. They give it the path. The path now is where? To the about page. What is the name? Give the name of that page. Call it about. Then the component. Now, what do you name the component? The component should be named about view. Then what do? Come to on top here and import the about view from views. Import about view from the views folder, this file. What else do we need? We need the contact view. Create another object, give it the path, and the path should be what we call contact. Just the URL. It's the URL that we want to navigate to. Then give it a name. Let's call it contact. Then the components in this case should be named contact view. After naming that, come on top here and import the contact view that we've just referred to. Contact view. Oh, that is it. So after doing that, remember initially our navbar here, let's come on top here, is using what we call the anchor tags. Anchor tags are not advisable to be used in a framework because what they will do, it will always cause the page to refresh, okay? But we don't want that when using frameworks. So instead, the view router that we installed, which lives inside the router, comes packed with something we call router link. So I will change all the instances of the anchor tag into router links. So click on all the instances of router tag, and we want to replace them with what we call router link. Router link, that is it. Now the router link doesn't use what we call the href. It takes in an attribute called to. So also do away with all the hrefs. Instead, you want to use what we call to give it the path that it should navigate to. For example, remember the home page is simply the slash, the about page is slash about, and the contact page is slash contact. Yeah. So every time, so we have a router link to home is there. You have the router link to about is there. You have the router link to contact is there. Actually, I can give it a home to avoid confusion. So let's go back here and let's just call it home/home. So what do we expect after this? We expect that when we click on the contact, it should navigate to contact. Now I want you to take some keen attention here. On the bottom left here. If I hover on the contact, if you check on the bottom left, what do you see? /contact. If I hover on the about, you see /about. If I hover on the home, you see /home. So whenever you click on a page, on a link here, it should route you to the contact, to the about page, and to the home page. So let's first deal with the error that we're having here. Let's go back to the home view. Want to import, let's call it about. Let's correct the imports here. They seem to be having a problem a little bit. Yep. So import home view from views, then it's called home view but view. Import can only be used in TypeScript files. Import home. Let's see where the problem is. Let's import them directly from the files. Import contact.view. Let's see. About to import views about view. Okay. Then we have home view. Want to import Vue's home view. So that should work, unless there's a problem. Something is still missing there. Let's see. Let's see what's missing here. Home view, about view, home views. Okay, fine. Give me a minute while I find out why it broke. Debug that. Let's debug that really quick. Import contact view from contact view.view. Let's also import about view. Import about view from about view.views. Okay, then let's come here. We have about plus about, then we are importing about. Then the contact. The last one should be contact. The contact view is what we should import next. So let's reload and see what we got. Okay, fine. So now after that, come back to your root component. Then now inside here, we have something we call router view. So come inside here and have the router view. Now, what is router view? Once you have a multiple page application, like in this case, you see we have contact, about, and home view. Now, when importing them in the main component, we don't import the individual components. Remember, the components we've already imported in the routing folder. Now, routing will take care of everything. Like when we route to a particular about page, it will mount the about. If you route to a contact page, it should mount the about page. So that is why when you come back now to app.view, instead of having all those components imported here, what you now want is the router view. So let's come back here. Let me route to view. Let me refresh first. Yeah. Now you see what happens. When I click on about, what do we have? This is an about page. If I click on contact, this is a contact page. If I click on home, I'm going to define home. Let me define home. I made a change here. Coming back to navbar, it should be slash. Let's load and see. Now home, you see this is home page, this is about page, this is contact page. Now let me explain that once again. What happens? Remember, now we are using the Vue router to navigate from one page to another. It means it is in this file that we import all the views that we want to route to and from. Now when you come now to the main component, which is the app.view component, now you don't import those views. Instead, what we use is what that ships with the router view, what we call the router view component, this one here. A router view will wrap all the components, but it will map them based on the path that has been accessed by the user. And that is why in our router file here, I say, whenever we route to slash, then it should load for me the home view. Whenever I route to about, you should load for me the about view. And lastly, whenever I route to contact, you should mount for me contact view. And all those views are imported here on top. So you can see that when I click on contact page, about page, home page. Even if I come to the URL here and just type /about, you see we have about page. Change that to contact. I have a contact page. So that is on the basic of routing with Vue. Something else I want to touch on is how to build a component that should be reused on another page. So let me create a component here and let me call it a card component. In the components folder, let's call it a card component. Click on that, then let's call it card.vue. Then as usually as setup. Then I want it to just be a card having a h1. Let's call it anything, a product name. Let's have a paragraph. This is the product selling. Let's have something like a button. Let's call it buy now. Before that, let's have the price also, which is AP price. What else do we need? The name, the description, the price, and the button to buy now. So let me style it a little bit so that we can actually work on that. So let's do the div. Let me see what we have. Border, okay. Then background color, gray, some gray color. Then now this is the product that I have actually defined. Now, assuming this card should be displayed in the home page, what do I need to do? So I will come back to my home view here and import that product card. So in my script section, remember every import should happen in the script section. So come here and type import card from component card view. Then now this is a custom element in Vue. So what do we do? Like I mentioned earlier, just come down here and give it the name card. Now when I navigate back to the home page, you see I have the card here, right? I have the card with me here and it's ready to be used. So what I want to do, I want to just have several of these cards and I want to have them in a div. Let me have the cards inside there. And let me have several cards. And let me just give this div a style of display flex so that I can have them side by side. Give it a gap, maybe of 2. So let's see what we have. Nice. So you see we have how many cards? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 maybe. And they are actually presenting the same exact card that I have. Now the thing is, going back to my card here, I want to give it something like a name. So let's follow up what I'll be doing. I will come here and say const product name equals to, let's say cracking coding. Again, let me give something like price is 100. Then the description is the best book to learn. Now what I want my card here to be populated using this data here. So Vue allows you to use what we call to write JavaScript inside the HTML tags. So instead of product name here, I will come here and have 2 curly brackets and let's call it product name. Then instead of this dummy text here, I want to have what we call the description. Instead of the price here, I want what we call the price. What do you expect? I expect that when we navigate back to our home page, it should reflect the data that we have here. So let's go back. Now let's see. You can see everything has been reflected. Cracking, recording, interview. Cracking, coding. Now that is how you actually inject data into your HTML template, which is in Vue. Simply using this double curly brackets, then the name of the data, name of the data. So once again, instead of having these ones here, remember this is a component. But this component, when imported into the home view, the data should be defined in the home view, not in the component itself. So to move it a step further, I'm going to delete the data that we have here. But instead, I'm going to do something I'm going to define what we call props. So just come and say define props. Inside the props, define props, it takes an object. Then inside there, we want to have something like product name. Product name should be string, description should be string, and price should be string. Once everything is set like this, now you can see when we come back to our page, it will be broken because it hasn't been defined yet. Now coming back now to where it has been imported, this is where now you define what we call the data. So what do? You come here in your script section and say const product name. We said it's a cracking the coding. Recording, interview, okay. Then what else do we need? Description, a book for certain engineers. Then price is $20 maybe. So how do I tell my card component to use whatever we are having here? You will come here, but now it's a property. Remember, it's not a property. What do? Tell it we want to bind it to the data that we have. For example, product name should be product name. Price should be price. And then finally, description should be description. So I'll comment out this one and just copy everything else again, coming down. 4 is enough. So let's check and refresh. You see, we are back to where we were before. Now we have actually used props to share data from one component to another. Now, where will this help you? Whenever you will now be accessing your external API's data. For example, let's say you had some data here from an API that has already been built, then you'll have an array of data here. That data should be defined in the parent component, which is where you import that data into, but the properties of that card should be defined in the card component where you define what the card should take in as the props, where we have the product name is a string, description is a string, and the price is a number. Then you pass directly inject it into the tags that you have, like the product name, the description, and the price. So